Hello, and welcome to the magical journey of science and sleep, where you will explore the deep mysteries of the universe while gaining a better understanding of your own body. Tonight, we will step together into the peaceful and surprising world of the nervous system, where tranquility can turn every breath you take into a wonderful experience. Make sure to watch until the end of the video, as every minute contains valuable information that helps you relax, improve your sleep, and better understand yourself. If you enjoy such profound discoveries and relaxing experiences, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any scientific adventures with us. As soon as you relax your body and breathe slowly, imagine an invisible network operating within you, more intricate than any city you have ever known. This is not a noisy system, nor does it have neon lights or alarm sirens. It is the nervous system, a perfect structure through which every signal, every sensation, and every movement passes, silently yet so efficiently that you hardly notice it. Before you, a miniature universe is continuously active, from the gentle signals informing your brain that your toes are warming up, to the rapid electrical impulses that make your arm jerk when you accidentally touch a hot surface. All of this happens in silence, like an invisible soundtrack of life. Let's start with the central nervous system, where all important decisions are formed. The brain, protected by the skull and cerebrospinal fluid, and is not only the information processing center, but also the repository of your memories, emotions, and thoughts. Imagine the brain as a command center where electrical impulses, neurotransmitters, and chemical signals constantly communicate, evaluate, and make decisions. Even when you are asleep, it does not rest, analyzing information, consolidating memories, and regulating your heart rate, breathing, and body temperature. The spinal cord, the neural spine, connects the brain to the entire body, acting as a main highway, transmitting information everywhere and responding instantly when needed. Every movement, every reflex of yours is initiated by this perfect system, so fast that you do not even realize it. Beyond the command center, the peripheral nervous system spreads throughout the body like an intricate network of roots. From the skin and muscles to internal organs, peripheral nerves continuously send and receive signals, ensuring all activities run smoothly. A typical example is the sciatic nerve, running from the lower spine down to the feet, silently transmitting signals that you rarely notice. Every day, millions of signals pass through this network, and you continue reading these words in a relaxed state, unaware of its complexity. But the nervous system is not only about speed and efficiency. It is also an artist of subtlety, conveying information in slow rhythms, like gentle notes weaving through the brain. Some signals are instant reflexes, like pulling your hand away from a hot object, but others travel through neural circuits for evaluation and integration, forming slow awareness, like when you recognize a friend's sad voice or feel a vague sensation recalling a distant memory. All are processed by the nervous system in a delicate, quiet, yet highly effective way. Astonishingly, the nervous system is both voluntary and automatic, serving your will while maintaining functions beyond your control. You choose to raise your hand, but not to make your heart race when anxious. You can hold your breath, but you cannot control the pupil's dilation in response to light. The nervous system always maintains a balance between conscious control and automatic reflexes, ensuring survival, adaptation, and efficient movement. Without your thinking, everything still operates perfectly. Try focusing on a single neuron, the basic unit of the nervous system. Tiny but powerful, it is a silent intellect within the vast network. A neuron does not just send signals, it receives, processes, and decides how to respond to messages from thousands of other cells. When neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, or glutamate are released, the neuron generates an electrical impulse like a spreading wave, carrying information throughout the body. It never tires, never complains, and operates continuously 24/7 from when you were in a cradle to adulthood. The axon, the highway of the neuron, is wrapped in myelin, a delicate insulating layer that ensures signals travel quickly and accurately. Dendritic branches, like tree limbs receiving signals from the surroundings, continuously listen and evaluate. Each neuron, though tiny under a microscope, can connect to thousands of other neurons, forming a complex, delicate, and continuously operating communication network. This allows you to think, feel, remember, and react to the environment with precision and timeliness. The nervous system is also an artist of homeostasis, regulating body temperature, blood pressure, breathing, blood sugar, and oxygen saturation. It monitors the smallest details, from the pressure of the mattress under your body to the intensity of light in the room, filtering information to decide what is important and what can be ignored. This prevents information overload and allows you to focus on each present experience, even while listening to my voice read these words in silence. Every reflex, every sensation, every posture adjustment you make is the result of this intricate coordination. And it is precisely this astonishing silence that makes the nervous system magical. No buzzing, no flashing, no demand for attention. It is a silent friend, completing every task, coordinating every reaction, and maintaining your entire body without your awareness. When your finger twitches, your heart beats faster, or a memory suddenly surfaces, remember that it is your nervous system at work, unassuming yet more effective than any machine you have ever known. From instant reflexes to slow and subtle decisions, from rapidly propagating electrical impulses to delicate chemical signals, the nervous system is at once the command center, the performer, the stage, and the script. It not only operates the body, but also houses your identity, memory, emotions, and very existence. Every living moment, every experienced sensation, every thought flashing in your mind is evidence of this extraordinary system. And the most wonderful part? All of it happens in silence, allowing you to sense its marvel without ever feeling overwhelmed. Imagine that inside you exists a complex world that you hardly notice. Every nerve axon, every neuron is a silent worker, diligently operating your entire body without needing your attention. The myelin produced by glial cells acts as a delicate insulating layer, helping electrical signals travel faster and more efficiently. Without it, electrical impulses would crawl slowly, like a muddy dirt road. But with myelin, signals race like a high-speed train on polished tracks. At the end of each axon is the nerve terminal, where signals are transferred to other cells via the synapse, a tiny but powerful gap where neurotransmitters leap across, sending messages between neighbors in the neural network. This entire process occurs with astonishing speed and precision, capable of repeating thousands of times per second. Neurons are not only diverse in shape and size, but also adapt flexibly to their function and location. Some communicate only within a few millimeters of the brain, while others, such as spinal motor neurons, can extend down to the toes, connecting distant points in your body. Each type of neuron has a specific role. Sensory neurons receive data from the environment, such as light, sound, temperature, or pressure. Motor neurons transmit signals from the brain to the muscles, ensuring your intentions are carried out. And interneurons, mostly in the brain and spinal cord, analyze, integrate, and decide on appropriate actions based on all received data. What is special about neurons is that they do not frequently divide and regenerate. When you are born, you possess about 80 to 100 billion neurons, enough to guide every thought, dream, reflex, and experience throughout your life. Although this number decreases with age or injury, the neural network still ensures continuous, flexible, and refined functioning. The ability to change connections, create new pathways, and adjust responses is what gives the brain its power and adaptability, transforming it from a static machine into a vibrant, ever-developing network. From the first months of life, neurons explode with activity, forming connections at nearly a million per second, laying the foundation for walking, learning to speak, imagining, and learning. These connections are continuously refined and restructured throughout your life, forever reflecting new experiences, learning, and memories. While neurons always work silently, their energy efficiency is impressive. They only fire when necessary, while resting states are carefully maintained through ion balance inside and outside the cell membrane. Imagine a single neuron, small but powerful. It receives information from thousands of other cells, listens, analyzes, and then decides how to respond. When an electrical impulse, called an action potential, is generated, the signal travels along the axon like a wave, opening sodium gates and allowing ions to flow in, creating temporary depolarization. Then potassium channels open to repolarize, returning the cell to a resting state. Each electrical impulse is all or none, ensuring the signal is clear and consistent, while the frequency and timing of impulses encode different information, from gentle sensations to intense pain, from slow awareness to instant reflexes. Neurons wrapped in myelin jump signals across the nodes of Ranvier, a phenomenon called saltatory conduction, allowing signals to travel faster and conserve energy. It is like a frog leaping across lily pads, covering long distances without crawling inch by inch. Thanks to this mechanism, the nervous system achieves extraordinary precision and speed, enabling you to react to the environment almost instantly while maintaining subtlety for slower perceptions, such as evaluating emotions or learning. The nervous system also operates with a sophisticated chemical language. Dopamine generates reward and motivation, glutamate stimulates memory and learning, while GABA inhibits processes to maintain balance. These signals not only transmit from cell to cell, but are also continuously adjusted to ensure that every response and action fits the context and timing. Despite its complexity and sophistication, neurons are extremely vulnerable, affected by oxygen deprivation, injury, or neurological diseases. However, the neural network always adapts, creating new pathways, strengthening connections, and maintaining the vibrancy of experience. Finally, what makes the nervous system miraculous is not only its speed or precision, but also its silence. No lights, no alarms, only subtle, quiet signals running through each neuron, creating all your thoughts, memories, emotions, and movements. When you pull your hand away from a hot surface, when an idea sparks in your mind, or when you remember a distant birthday, it is this neural network operating perfectly, requiring no attention, unassuming yet more powerful and precise than any machine you have ever known. This is where biology becomes art, where tiny ions generate electrical impulses, creating all of your human experiences silently yet wonderfully. Imagine you are sitting quietly in a room, yet inside your body there is a neural ball that never stops. Every axon, every neuron is a silent musician, operating a complex electrochemical orchestra that you cannot see but feel through every movement, thought, emotion, and memory. The speed at which the nervous system operates is fast enough for you to withdraw your hand from a hot stove before your brain even registers the pain, or close your eyes to avoid an insect before it touches your face. Instant decision is not just a beautiful phrase. It is a biological reality. Your neurons truly react in just a few thousandths of a second, and every decision, whether small or significant, originates from these tiny sparks of electricity. The extraordinary thing is that despite its speed almost beyond awareness, your nervous system is profoundly human. Every electrical impulse, every action potential occurs millions of times per minute, forming the foundation of thought, sensation, movement, memory, and emotion. When you decide to write a line of poetry, juggle a ball, or simply choose between light or dark socks today, all of these are action potentials humming along invisible neural pathways where subtlety and efficiency take precedence. This system is not a cold machine. It is a living network, always adapting, always changing, and always learning from experience. The ability of neurons to restructure is the hidden miracle within each of us. Neurons can become more or less sensitive to stimuli depending on how you use them. They adjust their activation thresholds, change the number of receptors, and even create entirely new connections. Your thoughts are not merely passive passengers on fixed tracks. They are artisans, leaving traces, remembering, and reshaping the brain through experience and repetition. At the molecular level, this is simply ions moving across membranes, proteins opening and closing in time, and balanced gradients like chemical seesaws. But together, they create everything that makes you who you are. Abstract concepts like imagination, memory, or fear all begin from simple mechanisms: a sodium channel opening at the right moment, an action potential traveling down an axon, a calcium ion flooding into a terminal. And although they are called electrical signals, these sparks are completely silent. No clicking, no flashing lights, only a gentle flow, softer than a whisper, invisible but incredibly powerful, guiding the entire world inside your head and body. At the synapse, the tiny yet magnificent gap between neurons, information is transmitted delicately through chemistry. This space is less than 1/10,000 of a millimeter, where synaptic vesicles filled with neurotransmitters are ready to be released. When the action potential reaches the axon terminal, calcium channels open, prompting synaptic vesicles to move to the membrane and release neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. And in just a brief moment, the message has shifted from electrical to chemical, crossing the narrow yet potent gap to bind with specialized receptors on the dendrites of the next cell. This process is all or nothing, precise enough that each message is transmitted and interpreted in an instant. Neurotransmitters do more than just excite or inhibit. Glutamate promotes learning and memory, GABA calms the nervous system, dopamine regulates motivation and reward, serotonin balances mood and sleep, while norepinephrine provides alertness and arousal. These chemicals not only transmit messages but also adjust the volume of other signals, creating an incredibly refined system where the same chemical can carry multiple meanings depending on the context. Dopamine may relate to pleasure in one brain region but control movement in another. Serotonin may excite or inhibit depending on the type of receptor it encounters. But the nervous system is not merely chemical exchange. The resilience of synapses, or plasticity, allows the brain to adapt and grow. When you practice playing the piano, learn a language, or memorize formulas, the involved synapses become stronger, respond faster, and connect more tightly. This change is not static. It depends on experience, stress, sleep, even sunlight, and diet. As synapses change, this is how your experiences, emotions, and behaviors are written into biology. The nervous system also operates rapid reflexes. When you touch a hot surface, signals from sensory receptors are sent to the spinal cord, which immediately sends motor signals back to the muscles, making you withdraw your hand before the brain intervenes. This is a clever shortcut, the reflex arc, where the spinal cord handles processing, protecting you from immediate danger. No direct involvement from the brain is needed, yet it is extremely precise, demonstrating a biological system combining speed, efficiency, and astonishing reliability. In all of these activities, no sound or light occurs. Only ions move. Synaptic vesicles release chemicals, and receptors receive messages, all happening in absolute silence. This is electrochemical art, where biology creates life, thoughts, emotions, memories, and actions, all formed from silent yet powerful electrical impulses and chemical signals. Imagine you are sitting still, seemingly doing nothing, yet inside your body, a neural ball never stops operating. Every neuron, every axon, every synapse terminal is a silent artist, coordinating to transform the physical world into vivid experience, from the gentle sensation of a breeze to the reflex of pulling your hand away from a hot surface. The speed of the nervous system surpasses any conscious decision. You withdraw your hand from a scalding cup of coffee before the brain registers the pain, close your eyes to avoid bright light before your awareness wakes up. These moments may seem small, but they are a biological marvel. Action potentials, sodium and calcium ions, synaptic vesicles filled with neurotransmitters, all working in an instant to protect you, maintain balance, and allow the body to operate smoothly. The reflex arc embodies this sophistication, comprising only a few basic components, but extremely effective: sensory receptors, sensory neurons, an integration center in the spinal cord, motor neurons, and effector organs. Each component is a link in a precisely coordinated neural chain. In a simple reflex like the knee jerk, sensory receptors in the tendon detect stretch, send signals to the spinal cord, and the muscle contracts immediately, all occurring before you are consciously aware of the action. This responsiveness makes the body like a neural relay team, processing information and reacting before consciousness even participates. But not all reflexes are simple. Polysynaptic reflexes, such as withdrawing your hand from something hot, require intricate coordination among multiple interneurons. When you touch a painful object, muscles not only contract, but other muscles relax or tense to maintain balance. The opposite leg automatically extends to support body weight, all coordinated by the spinal cord before the brain perceives the situation. This is a prime example of biological intelligence, where your body protects itself without requiring your command. Interestingly, reflexes extend to internal organs. Pupils constrict in bright light. Vomiting reflex occurs when the body needs to expel toxins. These mechanisms demonstrate biology's ultimate priority: survival and homeostasis. In infants, primitive reflexes such as rooting or grasping are not only endearing, but ensure the baby can find nourishment and survive in the first weeks of life. These reflexes gradually disappear as the nervous system matures, giving way to voluntary control, yet remain important indicators of healthy neural development. Reflex testing is a simple yet powerful diagnostic tool. Overly strong, weak, or absent reflexes may indicate damage along neural pathways. However, reflexes are not always rigid. Through repetition and practice, behaviors can become nearly automatic reflexes. Athletes and musicians train until movements become learned reflexes, which are not only fast, but also precise and perfectly coordinated. The brain sometimes negotiates with reflex pathways. You can instinctively avoid a dangerous object, but learn to catch it when necessary. This demonstrates that reflexes are not fixed programming, but a flexible, adaptive, and efficient biological network. Strange reflexes sometimes hint at evolution. Muscle twitches during sleep, or eyelid reflex sensitivity when consuming lots of coffee, are remnants from earlier developmental stages. They remind us that the body does not operate solely by conscious will. There is an intelligent network working silently in the spinal cord and throughout the body, and always ready to protect you before you recognize danger. From these basic reflexes, neural circuits open up a vast world. A single neuron can receive, process, and transmit signals, but the true marvel occurs when neurons connect into circuits. These circuits function like complex highways and branching roads, carrying information from sensory input through integration centers to motor output. From scratching your nose, walking, to composing music or sketching ideas, all rely on this intricate interaction mechanism. Sensory input is where the journey begins. Specialized receptors gather information from the environment and body. Mechanoreceptors detect pressure, photoreceptors detect light, chemoreceptors detect taste and smell, thermoreceptors measure temperature. They convert the physical world into electrical impulses, transmitted like messengers to integration centers, where raw information is organized, compared with memories and emotions, to form action decisions. You may not notice your socks touching your feet, but if they are wet and cold, urgent signals activate the entire response system. Integration is the nervous system's refined, deliberative version. It filters noise, recognizes patterns, compares input with memory and emotional state, and generates an appropriate response. A decision is not simply right or wrong, but an intelligent choice based on context and survival. Once a decision is formed, motor output executes it. Motor neurons transmit signals to muscles or glands, producing actions you consider natural, but which are actually the result of a sophisticated, coordinated, and precise neural network. If the senses bring you to the outside world, then the emotional circuits are the way your inner world is felt, interpreted, and experienced. Unlike purely motor or sensory circuits, emotional circuits do more than transmit information or stimulate muscles. They permeate every aspect of human cognition and behavior. Emotional circuits, centered on structures such as the amygdala, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and the broader limbic system, are the launch pad for feelings you might think are natural, but are actually the result of a complex and finely coordinated neural network. When you feel a surge of joy listening to a favorite song or a wave of anxiety before a presentation, that is the emotional circuitry operating subtly, almost invisibly. Let's begin with the amygdala, a small yet powerful center that acts as a survival alert hub. It receives information from all senses and evaluates its relevance to safety or risk. A light touch on the shoulder can startle you if the amygdala judges it as unexpected or dangerous. A compliment, a hug, or a tender gaze can evoke warmth and comfort. The amygdala is closely connected to the hippocampus, the structure responsible for storing experiences. Thanks to this connection, emotions do not exist in isolation. They are linked to memories, creating associations so that when a similar emotion arises, the memory is recalled and you experience that feeling vividly. This is why an old melody can bring tears to your eyes, or the aroma of a dish can transport you back to childhood. Emotional circuits do not merely react, they integrate past and present, turning each experience into a multi-layered symphony. The prefrontal cortex, particularly the prefrontal cortex itself, is the executive operator of the emotional circuitry. It participates in regulating and balancing emotional responses. When the amygdala signals danger, the prefrontal cortex helps evaluate whether the threat is real or merely imagined. This is where reason and emotion intersect. Emotions are not simply dominant, but are considered, refined, and sometimes restrained. Not every emotion erupts. This coordination explains why you can stand still while fear surges or still smile in a tense situation. One remarkable feature of emotional circuits is neural plasticity. Like motor or sensory circuits, connections within emotional circuits are not fixed. They change, stretch, and restructure based on experience and environment. When you undergo repeated experiences, whether positive or negative, the connections between the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex are strengthened. An emotion experienced frequently becomes easier to evoke, while rare emotions fade. This forms the basis for almost automatic emotional responses, and also explains why therapy, meditation, or cognitive training can alter how we react to emotions. Over time, you learn to regulate anger, reduce stress, or enhance empathy, all thanks to the adaptability of neural circuits. It is important to realize that emotional circuits do not operate in isolation. They continuously communicate with other systems: motor circuits to respond to the environment, the endocrine system to regulate hormones, and the autonomic nervous system to control heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. When standing before an audience, a racing heart, sweaty palms, and tense muscles are the result of a coordinated chain of signals. The amygdala signals risk, the prefrontal cortex adjusts the response, the autonomic nervous system executes the physiological effects. All of this occurs within milliseconds, and you may not even notice what is happening. Another example of the sophistication of emotional circuits is how they generate aesthetic or artistic feelings. When looking at a painting, your brain does not merely perceive color and shape. Emotional circuits coordinate with visual and memory circuits to create feelings of awe, fascination, or emotion. You may shed tears at a majestic scene you have never experienced because your emotional circuitry is decoding visual data, integrating it with memories and learned values to produce a vivid emotional experience. These emotions also play a crucial role in social communication. Emotional circuits help you recognize sadness, joy, or anger from the eyes, gestures, or tone of others. Without words, you can sense tension in a meeting or the quiet happiness of a friend. This forms the foundation of empathy, the ability to share and understand others' feelings, and explains why we can connect deeply with one another without language. Finally, emotional circuits are a core element of human experience. They connect past, present, and anticipated future. They shape how you feel, decide, and act. Without emotional circuits, the senses would only deliver raw data. Movement and action would become mechanical. Memories would lose their color and vitality. But thanks to emotional circuits, the world becomes vivid, rich, full of depth and meaning. They are the hidden heartbeat, the inner breath, the silent flame that makes you who you are. When you laugh, cry, get angry, or become absorbed, all are the result of this complex yet perfect neural network, operating continuously, subtly, and marvelously, even when you are unaware. Emotions, like a river that never stops flowing, weave through every corner of the nervous system, profoundly influencing how we experience and interact with the world. They are not simply fleeting reactions. They are complex signals encoded, transmitted, and processed through an intricate neural network, where each neuron and each synapse plays a role in shaping your psychological state. When you feel fear, for example, the amygdala, a key emotional center, sends electrical impulses that stimulate motor circuits, causing your body to tense, your heart to race, and your breathing to quicken. At the same time, the amygdala connects with the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for decision making, helping you weigh whether to confront or flee. Thus, emotions not only feel, but also act, blurring the lines between thought and movement, between awareness and reflex. Each emotional state carries a distinct biological signature. Joy, for example, is not just a smile or a feeling of happiness. It involves the release of dopamine in reward circuits, chemicals that generate pleasure, encourage repeated behavior, and strengthen relevant neural connections. Conversely, chronic stress or prolonged anxiety can restructure neural circuits in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, making emotional responses more sensitive and harder to control. Yet, the miracle is that the brain always seeks balance. Through new experiences, social connections, or mindfulness practices, it can form new circuits, creating healthier patterns of response. In other words, emotions are not a fixed force, but a resilient entity, continuously shaped and restructured by your life experiences. One of the most fascinating examples of how emotions operate is their influence on memory. Memories are not simply stored as static data, they are encoded along with the emotional state present at the time. When you experience a frightening event, the amygdala tags that memory with high priority, increasing the likelihood that you will recall details vividly. Conversely, enjoyable or pleasurable experiences are reinforced through dopamine and serotonin, enriching memory with emotion. This is why a familiar scent, a classical melody, or a familiar gaze can awaken a vivid moment from the past, making you smile, shiver, or pause in reflection. These experiences illustrate that emotions are not only present moment experiences, they are bridges connecting the past, present, and the way you interact with the future. Emotions also regulate how we learn and act. When an experience brings excitement, the brain releases neurotransmitters that enhance learning, improve focus, and increase flexibility in problem solving. Conversely, anxiety or fear can impede learning, making neural circuits less efficient, while simultaneously heightening alertness, promoting risk awareness, and planning. This is why emotions, though sometimes unpredictable, are a vital part of adaptation and survival. They not only help you exist, but also help you thrive. Notably, emotions do not reside solely in the heart or mind. They are the embodiment of an extensive neural network. Emotional responses spread throughout the body via the autonomic nervous system, regulating heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, and body temperature. When you feel anxious before a presentation, not only does your heart race, but your breathing and blood pressure also change. When you feel joyful, the body produces hormones such as endorphins that reduce pain and create a sense of well being. This is the harmonious interaction between emotion and physiology. You not only feel emotions, but live through them, experiencing them in every cell of your body. This emotional network also affects our social abilities. When you see a friend smile, the brain not only recognizes the image, it simultaneously activates reward centers, evokes warmth, and encourages positive responsive behavior. Empathy, therefore, is not merely a conscious choice, but the result of neural circuits trained through experience and social interaction. These connections help us understand others, predict their reactions, and adjust our behavior, creating a sophisticated network of social and emotional interaction. Finally, emotions are living proof of neural plasticity. Every emotional experience, every life high and low, contributes to adjusting and restructuring neural circuits. The excitement of mastering a new skill, the sadness of loss, the joy of achieving a goal, all write new neural pathways, strengthen old connections, and sometimes eliminate connections no longer needed. This ensures that the brain is never static. It continuously adapts, learns, and grows, transforming emotional experiences into a creative force that shapes who you are, not just through behavior, but through how you feel and interpret the world. In this complex world, emotions are not mere fleeting moments. They are a foundational part of existence, learning, and adaptability. They are simultaneously subtle and powerful, private and pervasive. And it is this sophistication that makes the brain, body, and human experience a living work of art, where emotion, memory, movement, and cognition blend into a delicate symphony that we rarely pause to notice, but that is ever present in every beat of life. Emotions are not merely fleeting moments. They are invisible, yet persistent threads that weave our lived experiences and shape how the brain operates. When you feel happiness, fear, anxiety, or excitement, your entire body responds, from heart rate to breathing, from muscle tension to vessel dilation, all coordinated by a complex neural network that many people never perceive. Each emotional state leaves a mark on neural circuits, creating pathways that the brain uses to understand, predict, and interact with the world. This explains why emotionally charged experiences are often remembered more vividly. Happiness makes memories radiant, while fear etches them into memory like a warning imprint. A vivid demonstration of this flexibility is the phenomenon of the phantom limb, when a person loses a limb, yet the brain continues to see and feel it. The area of the brain that once processed sensations from the missing limb does not vanish immediately. Instead, adjacent regions expand into that space. Some people even continue to experience phantom sensations or pain because the brain's internal sensory map has not yet been updated. Through reflex training, therapy, or even mental exercises, neural pathways can be readjusted, allowing the brain to adapt to the new reality. This is a striking example of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to restructure, adapt, and self heal, even under the most unusual circumstances. Modern technology is also harnessing this extraordinary capability. Brain computer interfaces, neurofeedback, and virtual reality rehabilitation are designed to encourage the brain to create new pathways, not by force, but by gently stimulating and guiding neural connections to form and consolidate through repetition. These tools help individuals with neural injuries relearn skills, regain sensation, or improve motor abilities, illustrating that the brain never stops learning, regardless of age or circumstance. Remarkably, neuroplasticity is not always expressed through flashy achievements or sudden leaps in learning. In fact, it often manifests in moments of struggle and frustration, learning a new skill, breaking old habits, or patiently repeating an action until it becomes automatic. As you practice, the brain not only records each movement, but also refines motor circuits, creating smooth, coordinated patterns that gradually become reflexive. This is how dancers, athletes, and artists achieve fluidity that seems natural. But in reality, it is the result of thousands of hours of practice, reinforcement, and neural fine tuning. Emotions also act as catalysts for memory. When an experience is associated with strong feelings, joy, sorrow, excitement, or fear, the brain enhances the retention of that information. The amygdala communicates with the hippocampus, increasing the significance of the memory, making the experience more vivid. This is why you can clearly recall a hearty childhood laugh or fear during an important event, yet forget trivial daily details. Memory is not a passive storage, it is a dynamic process, continuously reinforced, adjusted, and even refined each time you recall it. The brain stores information through networks of neurons, not like static files on a computer. Sensory memory holds short-term information from the senses for only a few seconds, enough for you to decide whether to pay attention or discard it. Short-term memory, or working memory, functions like a mental notebook, storing and processing a limited amount of information sufficient for daily tasks, such as remembering a phone number or following steps in a recipe. This capacity is flexible but easily disrupted. A distraction can cause information to vanish before it is processed. The process of long-term memory is more complex. When an experience is repeated, emotionally significant, or associated with meaning, the brain transfers information from short-term to long-term memory. This process, called memory consolidation, does not occur instantly. It requires time, often through deep sleep and REM sleep. The hippocampus plays a central role in linking memory fragments, images, sounds, sensations, and context, so they are stored comprehensively and can be later recalled. Long-term memory includes both explicit memories, consciously recallable, and implicit memories, automatic and unconscious, such as riding a bike or tying shoelaces. Interestingly, memories are not perfect copies of reality. They are reconstructed each time they are recalled. Each recall combines current information, present emotions, and details from previous recollections, creating a new version of the memory. This is both a weakness and a strength. Memories can be distorted, but they also have the ability to adapt, integrate new experiences, and become richer. Additionally, the brain continually selects what is worth remembering based on emotion, frequency, and personal significance. Forgetting is not failure. It is an optimization mechanism, helping the brain eliminate unnecessary information, reduce overload, and make space for more important information. Techniques such as repetition, chunking, creating visual associations, or stories exploit the brain's organization and memory consolidation processes, making learning effective and lasting. Even as age changes, the brain retains the ability to learn and form new memories thanks to its plasticity. Semantic memory and general knowledge may remain stable, while working memory or the ability to recall new information may slow. However, intellectual activity, social interaction, physical exercise, and sleep all help the brain maintain and strengthen connections, proving that the brain, even as it ages, remains a living, patient, and continuously adapting structure. Despite all rational efforts, humans are always guided by emotions, subtle, profound rhythms that the brain can scarcely control completely. When a memory evokes joy or sadness, the entire body responds. A fleeting smile, a quickened breath, a subtle muscle tension, all are signs of a finely tuned nervous system at work. Emotions are not merely reactions to the external world. They are an intrinsic language, a way for different parts of the brain to communicate with each other and with the body. Each moment of emotional experience leaves a mark on neural circuits, establishing pathways that we may not even consciously perceive, yet which determine how we think, act, and recall. In forms of dementia such as Alzheimer's, narrative memories, names, events, details may fade, but emotional memories rarely disappear entirely. A person may forget your name, yet still smile when they see you. This demonstrates the profound power of emotion in consolidating memory. It shows that the brain does not merely store raw information, it constantly seeks meaning. Memory, by nature, is not passive files. It is composed of fragments built around personal significance and the emotions associated with experiences. Every moment of your life, a song playing in summer, the smell of morning toast, someone's affectionate gaze, gets imprinted onto the neural map in its own way. The brain, like a silent archivist behind the scenes, weaves these experiences into a coherent story, a vivid record of who you are. Each time you recall, those images, sounds, and sensations resurface, reviving not only the memory but also the accompanying emotion, reminding you of the richness and dynamism of memory. At the center of this emotional network is the limbic system, a biological circle encircling the brainstem where ancient survival mechanisms interact with more evolved rational regions. The limbic system is not just a physical structure, but an emotional control center where the amygdala, hippocampus, hypothalamus, and portions of the cortex work in concert. The amygdala, often known as the fear center, plays a leading role in evaluating and responding to emotional signals. When you are startled by a sudden sound, the amygdala immediately triggers a fight or flight response, sending an internal alert to prepare the body to respond. Meanwhile, the hippocampus records the context of the experience, where you are, what you are doing, what you see, hear, and feel. Thanks to the hippocampus, emotional memories can be recalled with astonishing detail, from the lighting in a room to the scent of grass after rain. This combination explains why a familiar song can transport you back to childhood, or a special moment can evoke the full sensation of joy or fear. The hypothalamus, although small, is the coordination center for the endocrine system, linking the nervous system to the pituitary gland and releasing hormones into the bloodstream. These hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, oxytocin, increase heart rate, dilate pupils, change blood pressure, and regulate the body's physiological responses, transforming emotional experiences into a full body reality. Thus, emotions do not remain confined to the brain but permeate the entire body. Anxiety tightens the stomach, joy makes your steps buoyant, sorrow weighs down your shoulders. This is not metaphorical, it is a physiological phenomenon shaped by nerves, hormones, and complex feedback loops. The autonomic nervous system, comprising the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, regulates emotions with precision. The sympathetic system activates fight or flight responses, increasing heart rate, directing blood to muscles, and slowing digestion. The parasympathetic system calms responses, returning the body to rest and recovery. Emotions often emerge from the balance between these two branches. Fear stimulates the sympathetic system, while feelings of safety activate the parasympathetic system. Most emotions are blends, fear mixed with excitement, sadness with relief, happiness intertwined with nostalgia, creating rich, inseparable experiences. Neurotransmitters play a decisive role in this dance of emotions. Dopamine enhances motivation and reward, serotonin regulates mood and sleep, norepinephrine heightens alertness and vigilance, oxytocin reinforces social bonding. These chemicals coordinate, interact continuously, and are influenced by genetics, environment, and life experiences. Even simple actions, walking in a forest, sleeping well, listening to music, can adjust this chemical state, demonstrating that the brain is always active, never neutral regarding emotions. The prefrontal cortex, a recently evolved part of the brain, helps regulate emotions, assess situations, and control amygdala responses. In individuals with strong emotional regulation, this region is highly active, allowing them to handle stress, conflict, and fear more subtly. Conversely, when the prefrontal cortex is overwhelmed, raw or exaggerated emotional responses may appear, such as jumping at a spider or becoming unexpectedly angry. Emotions are further amplified by mirror neurons, which enable humans to empathize with others' experiences. When you see someone in pain, joy, or disappointment, your brain mirrors that feeling, creating a deep social connection. Every expression, gesture, smile, or frown is decoded by the brain, simultaneously shaping your own emotional experience. Finally, emotions are not just personal experiences, they are evolutionary tools that help humans survive, adapt, and thrive. Fear signals danger, anger protects boundaries, joy reinforces beneficial behavior, guilt encourages social adjustment. They are living data, decoded by neural networks, linking memory, behavior, and experience, creating an inner world rich, colorful, and astonishing. Inside your head, sleep is not a passive state, but a rhythmic, intricate neural symphony. Even when the body lies still, the brain remains busy organizing, sorting, and regulating everything, from memories and emotions to basic physiological processes. First, it is important to dispel a common misconception. Sleep is not a time when the brain shuts down. On the contrary, some brain regions are more active during sleep than when awake. It is merely a shift in priority and order of activity. The brain is performing background work, organizing information, consolidating memories, clearing waste, and even experimenting with creative associations, all happening in a quietness invisible to the naked eye. Sleep is organized into cycles of roughly 90 minutes, repeating multiple times throughout the night. Each cycle includes several distinct stages, classified into non-REM and REM, short for rapid eye movement. In non-REM sleep, the first three stages gradually transition you from light, easily awakened sleep to deep, slow-wave sleep that restores the body. The first stage is when the brain shifts from wakefulness to drowsiness. You can still hear surrounding sounds, and sleep twitches often occur, like a quick check of the nervous system before entering deeper rest. The second stage is when the body and heart rate begin to relax, body temperature drops, and brainwaves slow, preparing for a state fully separated from the external world. In the third stage, true slow wave sleep occurs. Brainwaves become dense and slow like rolling hills on an EEG map. Muscles fully relax, growth hormones are released, the immune system is boosted, and body tissues begin repair processes. This is the peak of physical restoration, when the body is busier than ever, yet you remain unaware. But it is REM sleep where the brain performs vivid mental displays. During REM, your eyes dart beneath the eyelids, brain waves resemble wakefulness, the body is nearly paralyzed, a neural protective mechanism to prevent acting out dreams. Here, the brain generates images, sounds, sensations, and memories combined into a strange internal theater, sometimes illogical, sometimes meaningful, occasionally featuring faces and scenes unseen for many years. Dreams can serve as tools for emotional processing, memory consolidation, or as intricate mental rehearsals, where the brain tests scenarios, practices responses, and explores new connections between memories. Sleep is not just for rest, but also for learning and storage. During the day, the brain collects information, experiences, and emotions. During sleep, especially in deep non-REM and REM, the brain sorts this data, deciding what to retain, what to discard, and reinforcing important neural connections. This process, called memory consolidation, ensures information is retained long term, from learning new skills to preserving significant emotional memories. Even short naps can enhance learning performance, demonstrating that sleep functions as a mental rehearsal, where the brain replays and strengthens recent experiences. Sleep's impact on emotion is equally significant. Sleep deprived individuals often react more strongly to emotional stimuli, become irritable, and show reduced stress regulation. The amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm center, becomes more sensitive, while the prefrontal cortex, which regulates responses, slows, creating emotional imbalance. In other words, a sleep deprived brain becomes impulsive, easily overwhelmed by raw emotional reactions like a child missing a nap. Conversely, adequate sleep helps reset emotional states, soothe stress, balance mood, and create a clearer mind upon waking. Even bizarre dreams of illogical situations, taking an exam in a cheese built building or flying over a city of penguins, may serve memory consolidation and emotional adaptability. At a biological level, sleep is also a time for neural housekeeping. The glymphatic system operates more efficiently during sleep, clearing accumulated waste from wakefulness, including excess proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. This process is subtle, silent, and only effective when the brain focuses on background tasks, undistracted by wakeful activity. Neurons remain active, maintaining essential functions: heart rate, breathing, temperature regulation, digestion, and hormone balance, all occurring automatically and perfectly. The autonomic nervous system, the body's silent controller, maintains all essential activities without conscious intervention. It manages heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, digestion, body temperature, and sweat responses, operating continuously day and night. This system has two branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic, like two dancers guiding the physiological machinery in their own rhythms. The sympathetic branch is the fight or flight mode, activated by stress or threat, from a snake in the grass to an urgent unopened email. The parasympathetic branch, conversely, restores, calms heart and muscles, and returns the body to a state of rest. Both sleep and the autonomic nervous system demonstrate a profound principle: life never stands still. Even in stillness, the brain and body execute a complex sequence of activities, coordinating cleanup, consolidation, restoration, and creativity. Sleep is a neural architectural work where every detail, from brainwaves to hormones, from reflexes to emotions, is precisely regulated. This is not passive rest. It is the time when the brain works silently, repairs, creates, and prepares for the next experiences, demonstrating the remarkable power and intelligence of the human body's most sophisticated organ. When you feel your heart racing, your palms sweaty, or your body ready for an imaginary escape, that is your sympathetic nervous system operating at full capacity. It triggers a cascade of subtle physiological changes. Heart rate accelerates to pump oxygen-rich blood to your muscles, pupils dilate to allow more light into your eyes, and airways expand for deeper breaths. Instantly, digestion is paused, because who cares about digesting food when an imaginary tiger might appear? Blood shifts from the stomach and digestive organs to the limbs, preparing your body for rapid response. All these reactions occur in the blink of an eye, without conscious effort, without deliberate action. You only perceive a rush of exhilarating adrenaline, the refined product of coordination between the sympathetic nervous system and the endocrine system. The adrenal glands, located atop the kidneys, secrete adrenaline and norepinephrine, amplifying every sensation of readiness. In modern society, although few encounter real tigers, the brain still receives frequent risk signals: a presentation, a work deadline, an unexpected phone call, or even embarrassing moments. Your nervous system struggles to distinguish real danger from mental stress, so the body responds similarly. When the threat subsides, the parasympathetic system emerges like a soothing remedy, calming, restoring, and reestablishing balance. Heart rate slows, digestion resumes, muscles relax, and the body returns to a resting state. This is the nervous system's internal spa day, a rhythm of rest that is vital. One key axis of the parasympathetic system is the vagus nerve. It winds from the brainstem down through the chest and abdomen, regulating heart rate, digestion, the larynx, and even influencing inflammatory responses and immune signaling. Slow breathing, humming, singing, or exposure to cold can stimulate the vagus nerve, reducing stress and balancing emotions. The balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic activity is called autonomic tone, a subtle mechanism that allows the body to respond quickly to danger and return to rest when safe. But it is not only the autonomic nervous system that makes your body sophisticated. Myelin, the insulating layer around neuron axons, is the silent factor ensuring all neural messages travel rapidly and accurately. Imagine, when you blink, withdraw your hand from something hot, or daydream, electrical signals traverse neurons like electricity through wires. Myelin, produced by specialized cells such as oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system and Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system, wraps around axons like a super refined rubber coating. It prevents signal loss and ensures faster, more precise transmission. The gaps between myelin segments, called nodes of Ranvier, are not design flaws. They allow signals to jump from node to node, a process called saltatory conduction, enabling nerve impulses to travel much faster than moving evenly along the axon. Thanks to this mechanism, neural messages can travel over 100 meters per second, fast enough for you to withdraw your hand from a hot surface before sensing pain, or catch a falling object without thinking. Speed is not just speed, it is survival, coordinated movement, and precise reaction. Not all neurons have densely myelinated axons. Signals that require speed and distance, such as motor neurons, tactile sensory neuron reflex pathways, are prioritized as VIP. Slower or more diffuse signals, such as burning pain from injury, travel along thinner, less myelinated fibers. This shows that the nervous system prioritizes critical information, ensuring survival responses occur in time. Myelination occurs gradually, extending from birth to adulthood. This is why infants cannot immediately learn math, tumble, or grasp complex skills. The nervous system requires time to connect efficiently, from crawling, walking, speaking, to mastering intricate skills like tying shoes or understanding subtle jokes. This process demonstrates purposeful neural development. Each layer of myelin, each cellular connection, is trained over time to ensure speed, precision, and bodily flexibility. When combined with the autonomic nervous system, myelin becomes part of a complete survival mechanism. The sympathetic system ensures rapid responses to danger, the parasympathetic system restores balance, and myelin guarantees all neural messages travel instantly and accurately from the brain to the executing organs. When you feel your heart pounding, your breath quickening, or relaxation after a deep inhale, remember that this entire system operates with exquisite precision, silently, yet extremely effectively. It sustains life, protects you from danger, and optimizes your ability to react, often without your awareness. This is why the human body, from heart rate, reflexes, tactile sensations to sleep, is a perfect, sophisticated, and creative mechanism. Myelin and the autonomic nervous system are not merely physical components, they are proof of biological intelligence, demonstrating how the body integrates speed, accuracy, reaction, and rest into a single system. The brain and nervous system never truly rest. Even while you dream of strange fantasies, they remain busy, connecting and optimizing everything. In this biological rhythm, you realize one thing. Every reflex, every heartbeat, every breath is the result of an intricate sequence of mechanisms honed over millions of years of evolution. From the fight-ready sympathetic system, the balance-maintaining parasympathetic system, to myelin ensuring speed and precision, all combine into a silent symphony. The brain and nervous system do not merely control the body. They tell the story of survival, emotion, reaction, learning, and creativity. When you lie down to rest, you're not merely sleeping. You are immersing yourself in a perfect mechanism where every neural impulse, every layer of myelin, and every heartbeat works tirelessly to ensure that tomorrow you wake ready, alive, and ready to explore the world. When you lift your hand, withdraw your foot from a hot surface, or simply blink, the entire process that seems so simple is actually a complex symphony between myelin, neurons, and glial cells. Myelin is not the star on the neural stage, but this smooth insulating layer transforms initially clumsy movements into fluid, graceful, and controlled actions. It acts like an internal fiber optic network, ensuring that every neural impulse from the brain to the executing organ is transmitted with maximum speed and precision. When myelin is damaged, such as in multiple sclerosis, the body immediately experiences disruption. Electrical signals are interrupted, movement becomes slow and poorly coordinated, or sensations of numbness and fatigue arise. This reminds us that, though silent, myelin is a decisive factor in the fluidity and stability of neural life. But myelin does not exist alone. It relies on oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system and Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system, the silent, backstage workers wrapping around axons, maintaining and regenerating this insulating layer as needed. These cells not only quietly ensure the passage of neural signals, but also monitor and repair when damage occurs. When an axon is affected, oligodendrocytes can regenerate myelin, restoring signal transmission speed, helping the central nervous system maintain optimal performance. Schwann cells in the periphery perform a similar role, but with a one-to-one relationship with the axon, supporting the regeneration of nerves outside the brain and spinal cord. This explains why peripheral injuries sometimes recover, whereas central injuries often leave long-term deficits. Next, we cannot overlook the crucial role of astrocytes. Star-shaped cells that maintain chemical stability around neurons. They remove excess neurotransmitters, regulate ions, guide the growth of new neurons, and preserve balance in the brain environment. Astrocytes also create the blood-brain barrier, a semi-permeable shield that protects the brain from toxins, bacteria, and chemicals that could disrupt neural balance. When damaged, they swell and change shape to form scar tissue, protecting the injured brain area, preventing the spread of damage, while trying to keep the remaining brain functioning normally. This is a silent but necessary sacrifice to protect the delicate neural network. Equally important are microglia, the brain's own immune patrol. They constantly search for abnormalities, from dead cells to misfolded proteins, performing phagocytosis to eliminate potential threats. Microglia also participate in pruning synapses, removing excess connections to refine neural networks during development and adulthood. They are silent sculptors, determining the structure and efficiency of the brain, but are extremely sensitive to stress, sleep deprivation, and chronic inflammation. When overstimulated, microglia can become overzealous, contributing to neurodegenerative diseases or chronic pain, reminding us that biological balance is vital for survival. All of these cells, oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, microglia, not only maintain myelin, but also regulate neuronal activity, optimizing the speed and accuracy of neural messaging. When you learn a new skill, such as playing a musical instrument or acquiring a language, myelin can increase in relevant regions, making signals faster, more precise, and smoother. This is a vivid demonstration of the plasticity and adaptability of the nervous system. It continuously adjusts, repairs, and reinforces, turning every experience into a step forward in cognitive and motor abilities. Even everyday functions, such as breathing, heart rate, digestion, and reflexes, depend on this sophisticated coordination. The autonomic nervous system, together with myelin and glial cells, ensures that each signal is transmitted efficiently, from a rapid reflex when touching a hot object to complex behaviors like finger movements when playing the piano. When this system operates harmoniously, body and mind synchronize. Movements are fluid, perception sharp, emotions balanced, and reactions swift. Interestingly, glial cells also produce their own signaling molecules called gliotransmitters, which can regulate how neurons communicate, affecting learning, memory, and emotions. In mental health, the balance between glial cells and neurons plays a crucial role. Overactivation or disruption in this system is linked to depression, anxiety, and neurodegenerative diseases. But in normal life, they quietly maintain rhythm, protect, repair, and optimize all neural connections so that every decision, movement, and thought unfolds smoothly like a symphony. Upon closer observation, you realize that the brain is not merely the source of thoughts, emotions, or movements. It is a complex network where myelin functions as insulation, oligodendrocytes and Schwann cells maintain and regenerate, astrocytes regulate the environment, microglia patrol and prune, and all cells cooperate harmoniously. They are backstage managers, demanding no attention. Yet without them, all neural activity would become chaotic, slow, and inefficient. Every action you take, from lifting a finger, jumping to avoid a foreign object, to solving a complex puzzle, depends on the speed, precision, and perfect coordination of these neural components. Myelin and glial cells never rest. They work silently, continuously, ensuring that every neural impulse, every electrical signal travels from idea to action without interruption. In the neural world, there is no glory or spotlight, only the persistence, endurance, and finesse of these cells, creating the miracle we call perception, action, and emotion. Behind every movement, every thought, every breath, and even the fleeting sparks of awareness, there exists a delicate, complex, and extraordinary neural network that we often overlook. It operates silently, never resting, ensuring that every signal from the brain to the body is precise and fluid. The nervous system is not merely a network of cells. It is a living symphony where each cell plays its own role but combines to create an overall effect far beyond direct observation. When we look closely at neurological conditions, from Parkinson's, epilepsy, stroke, to degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or multiple sclerosis, we begin to see the astonishing subtlety and resilience of this system, along with the challenges it faces. Let's start with Parkinson's, a progressive disorder primarily affecting movement. The cause lies in the gradual loss of dopamine producing neurons in the substantia nigra. Dopamine is not merely a neurotransmitter, it is the rhythm that allows motor circuits to operate smoothly, keeps muscles contracting and relaxing precisely, and provides flexibility in movement. When dopamine is deficient, neural signals no longer transmit like a perfectly orchestrated symphony. As a result, small tremors appear in the hands, movements become slow, muscles stiffen, and balance becomes fragile. Even facial expressions change, becoming muted, like a painting losing its subtle details. Simple tasks like buttoning a shirt or lifting a cup of tea turn into challenges, reminding us that each seemingly natural movement relies on the intricate coordination of millions of neurons and supporting networks. However, Parkinson's does not only affect movement. Sleep, mood, digestion, and smell can all be impacted, demonstrating that the brain controls not only muscles, but also manages the entire body. And although there is no complete cure, modern medicine has discovered numerous ways to manage symptoms, from levodopa temporarily restoring dopamine, medications that inhibit dopamine breakdown, to deep brain stimulation, a technology akin to a pacemaker for the brain, improving motor control. Simultaneously, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and emotional support become essential parts of care, helping patients maintain independent and meaningful lives. Turning to another aspect of neural complexity, epilepsy illustrates how the brain can transform instantly, sometimes unpredictably and uncontrollably. Epilepsy is not a single disease, but a group of conditions manifested through recurrent seizures caused by sudden bursts of electrical activity in the brain. A seizure may appear as violent shaking, loss of consciousness, or subtler changes such as a pause in interaction, a vacant stare, or a fleeting sense of déjà vu. Depending on the affected brain region, seizures can impact movement, cognition, sensation, or emotion. The causes of epilepsy are diverse: genetics, head trauma, infections, stroke, or developmental abnormalities of the brain. In many cases, the cause remains unclear. Fortunately, most patients can control seizures with anti-epileptic drugs, and those unresponsive to medication may be aided by surgery, dietary therapy, or neural stimulation. More importantly, awareness and education are helping communities understand that epilepsy does not define a person, but is merely one challenge they face. Many continue to live independently, work, study, and create, thanks to the combination of medical care, social support, and the brain's remarkable adaptability. Stroke is another example of the nervous system's fragility, yet remarkable resilience. When blood flow to part of the brain is interrupted, even for a few minutes, neurons begin to die or sustain damage. The consequences depend on the location of the injury. The left hemisphere may affect language and expression, while the right hemisphere affects spatial awareness. Some patients lose mobility, experience muscle weakness, have difficulty maintaining balance, changes in vision or facial expression. Even personality and cognitive function may be affected. Yet the brain, with its extraordinary neural plasticity, can reestablish connections, creating detours to take over the functions of damaged areas. Recovery is a combined effort of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and family support, with small but meaningful progress demonstrating the mind's adaptability and resilience. Other neurological disorders, such as multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, further highlight the diversity and intricacy of the nervous system. Each condition demonstrates ways in which cells and signaling pathways are affected, but also shows the brain's ability to recover, learn, and adapt. Thanks to medical advances, from gene editing, stem cells, immunotherapy, to assistive devices for communication and movement, patients increasingly have hope. Supportive communities, sharing experiences, providing resources, and offering encouragement, help patients not only survive, but also live rich, independent, and meaningful lives. Notably, neural recovery does not rely solely on medicine, but also on the brain's natural capacity for adaptation. People facing neurological disorders become experts in adjusting their bodies, learning to create new neural pathways, and optimizing remaining functions. They learn to communicate, move, remember, and create in different ways, sometimes literally discovering potentials they had never imagined before. Thus, the nervous system is not merely a collection of cells and nerves, it is a living network, connecting body and mind, responsible for every human action, emotion, cognition, and experience. Each disorder, each challenge, each small triumph is evidence of its extraordinary silent power, not because it is perfect, but because it can adapt, recover, and accompany humans through all circumstances, no matter how difficult. One of the most remarkable aspects of the brain is that even when the body is limited, the brain continues to operate, issuing motor commands as if everything were normal. A person who has lost the ability to move their hand can still imagine moving it, and the motor cortex responds as if the hand were actually moving. This ability has opened a new door in the field of brain computer interfaces, or BCIs, allowing humans to harness signals from the brain and redirect them to external devices. This is not merely a technique for controlling machines with thought. It is a direct approach to tapping into the brain's creative energy and silent intentions. It is like rerouting traffic when a bridge collapses. The brain still issues instructions, and the technological system finds an alternative path to complete the task. This capability extends not only to sending signals from the brain outward, but also in the reverse direction, bringing information into the brain. Devices such as artificial retinas or corneal implants are gradually making artificial vision a reality. They convert visual or auditory data into electrical signals that the brain can interpret. As a result, many people with implanted ocular devices can understand speech, perceive music, and recognize environmental sounds. Research efforts in this field are also aimed at directly stimulating the visual cortex to restore sight, opening the prospect that one day, blind individuals may perceive light, shapes, and colors, even if only partially. At the same time, the field of neural prosthetics is making significant strides with artificial limbs and devices that communicate directly with the nervous system. No longer are robotic arms controlled merely by buttons or switches. Advanced versions allow users to move prosthetic limbs using natural signals from nerves. Even sensations are transmitted back to the brain, allowing the brain to believe that the prosthetic is part of the actual body. This subtle feedback loop between movement and sensation not only aids in restoring motor function, but also opens up an entirely new way to experience the world. Meanwhile, neural stimulation is becoming a groundbreaking tool in clinical medicine. Deep brain stimulation has helped thousands of Parkinson's patients reduce tremors, improve motor skills, and even regulate emotions. Non-invasive methods such as transcranial magnetic stimulation or transcranial direct current stimulation are also being tested to modulate brain activity, enhance cognition, and support mental health. This demonstrates that the brain is not only capable of adaptation, but can also be supported and reprogrammed in safe and effective ways. Simultaneously, neurogenetics and stem cell therapy open up the prospect of recovery from the source. Gene therapies target genetic deviations, while stem cells can replace damaged neurons, regenerate spinal cord tissue, and combat degeneration. Research on synthetic synapses is also laying the groundwork for repairing or expanding neural connections, even creating hybrid systems between biology and machines. All of these advances not only promise the restoration of lost functions, but also open the possibility of expanding perception and sensation. One day, we may experience entirely new forms of perception, from infrared vision to sensing distant environments, through the combination of biology, technology, and artificial intelligence. AI is being integrated to recognize brain activity patterns and adjust responses in real time, making BCIs more intuitive, responsive, and personalized. In this context, the future of the nervous system is no longer limited by pure biology. It is a living network, both astonishing and full of potential, where the brain not only recovers, but also learns, adapts, and expands limits that we previously could never have imagined.